Hi everyone, you're welcome to Reviews and Recaps. Let's get into today's episode. So we're on Ready to Love episode 8. Now, so the episode started with the gentleman's lounge. Nephew Tommy was basically telling the guys that it was time to introduce their ladies to the keeper of their secrets, their best friends. And I was like, okay, cool. This promises to be a good episode. Well, I thought so. I don't know if it was giving what it needed to give, but it was a bit dry. It was a bit of a snooze fest, if I'm being completely honest. What do you guys think? Is it just me, or was it really a dry episode? I was hoping for more excitement, but I just didn't get it. Anyways, so Tori was basically talking to the guys and just saying that his homie doesn't have a filter, so it'll be interesting to see. And then Paul was saying that his homie's a ratchet. I'm like, okay, Paul, I can see that. And he was basically saying that, you know, whoever he doesn't pick, his friends are likely to be like, hook me up. I just thought, wow, that's funny. But anyways, so Paul had two ladies coming to the lounge. That was Dakia and good old Carmen, right? Now, there was also meant to be another lady who was Tina. If you notice, Tina and Paul had a good connection when they first met. It was almost like, you know, they connected like instantly, and Tina was really loving the fact that he was older. If anything, I was actually looking forward to seeing whether their connection would develop and deepen a little bit more. But Tina did not show up. Apparently she was being very elusive. So she didn't show up to that lunch. So Paul ended up having Dakia and Carmen. Now, I was very shocked to see Dakia there, because as far as we've seen on the season, there hasn't been any connection with Dakia and Paul. So I was very, very surprised, I have to say. I just kept thinking, interesting. So anyways, Dakia walked up and was basically saying that her and Paul have recently started getting to know each other. They haven't been on a date yet. I was like, okay, fair enough. But I still don't understand why you're meeting his friend if you guys haven't even been on a date yet. But whatever. Okay. So anyways, Dakia walked in, was having a conversation with Paul's friend. It seemed that they had, you know, good enough banter here and there. It was, you know, Dakia is one of those women who can walk in any room and hold a conversation and just hold her own, right? So I had no shock there that she was basically just getting in there and stuff, right? Then good old Carmen walks in, and she has the weirdest energy. It was almost like you could feel the tension. You could cut the tension with a knife, honey. Like from the screen, I was uncomfortable. It was almost like she came in, saw Dakia, and in her mind, just, what is Dakia doing here? You know, with Carmen, like I said, from day one, everything seems like a competition, and I don't like that. If you're really here to find love, it shouldn't be about competing with other women for the man. I just felt like her energy was so off. I hated the interaction between Carmen and Dakia. It was almost like she was just not happy about. And I understand, like, okay, in the real world, you won't be happy when your man is there with another woman, or the guy you're dating is there with another woman. But that's the competition that you signed for. That's what you signed up for. That's the whole premise of the show. So I don't understand why you're coming with that negative vibe. At least try and, you know, hide it and be as cordial as possible. But she just wasn't doing it. Anyways, I loved how Dakia was like, well, I got to go. She bowed gracefully, like the graceful woman that she is. She exited just so nicely. I was like, all right, good, nice one, Dakia. Because she was probably like, I'm not going to sit here and deal with this tension, which is fair enough. I wouldn't either. You know, especially because she got there earlier. She can just go head out and do, you know, go back to wherever it is she needed to be at. But anyway, so Carmen was basically saying to Paul's friend that, you know, she's very competitive and that's where her dominance comes from. And, you know, Paul in his confessionals was basically talking about how Carmen is very superficial with a lot of things, but there is a little bit of substance there. I'm not being funny, but if a man describes me like that, I'll be thinking, guy, why are you with me? But why do you want to be with me if I only have a little bit of substance? So you rather be with someone who's superficial and has a little bit of substance than someone who is beautiful but has substance. I just didn't get that. I was like, Paul, do you know what you want? Do you actually know what you want, Mr. Paul? But anyways, Paul's friend, of course, picked up on it, I'm sure, and was basically saying to him that Carmen is for the old Paul, the Kia is for the new Paul. And I'm like, interesting stuff. Anyways, the next, next friendship date, so to speak, was with Tori. Tori's friend called Ash. Well, his full name is Ashley, but he likes to be called Ash because it makes him sound a bit serious, but okay. And then Sabrina. So Sabrina walked in to the date and brought Tori a gift. And I thought, okay, nice. I feel like she probably just did not want to feel like she owed Tori anything, because I can tell that she doesn't really like Tori anymore. She's just keeping him and dragging him along because she wants to stay as long as she can in the process. But in reality, I don't think she likes Tori anymore, which I don't blame her. Tori's acting like a little child who got his feelings hurt, okay? So I do not blame her at all. But what was interesting was the fact that, even about the gift, she was like, oh, it was almost like even had something to say about the gift. I'm like, guy, she just gave you a gift. Take the gift and stop being a little petty ass. Like, it's not attractive the way Tori's behaving. Like, it's not. I don't like it at all. Anyway, so Sabrina, one thing I did notice about Sabrina is she seems to handle being questioned under pressure quite well, I think. She seemed to just, take it on the chin, answer the questions as best as she can. I guess her bubbly personality just helps her out as well. Because the thing is, when you have a bubbly personality, you could be saying nonsense and people will just be like, oh, she just seems so sweet. And she just seems so nice. And the energy is just so lovely. But deep down, you're just like, oh, I can't be bothered. Why am I here? And I suspect deep down, that's probably what Sabrina thought. Well, I can't speak for her, but in my opinion, because in a way, I have a bubbly personality, like in real life and stuff, right? And 9 out of 10, sometimes I'm just there like, guy, I just want to go home. But out of being, polite and, when I'm out, I'm just like, all right, guy, I'm out now. I got to have the energy to be here. So there is that. Anyway, so Sabrina, Tori, and Ash kept having conversations. Then Ash asked Tori where the other lady was, and Tori picked up his phone, started calling Ace on speakerphone. Well, she didn't pick up. Turns out Mr. Tori got stood up by Ace. Ace pretty much ghosted, it seems. She just did not show up. Imagine that though. That must have been upsetting, because in a way, Tori was probably relishing the opportunity for Ace to be there so that he can flaunt the connection that he has with Ace in Sabrina's face. I say that because Tori has shown time and time again that he is clouded by his emotions. I don't know if you guys remember when he kissed Precious. And I personally think that the reason he kissed Precious was to make Sabrina jealous, because he knew that it would get to her in the group dates and, somehow get back to her. Okay. So for me, I'm not shocked at all that he wanted Ace to be there and, called her on speakerphone and all of that, and was upset about that. I feel like that was more where his upset came from, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Now, can I be honest with you guys? You guys know on this channel, I love Miss Mace, right? But what she did was not right, honey. No. You don't decide or agree to come somewhere and don't show up and not at least send them a text message giving them some heads up. I don't like that behavior, right? I'm just like, even if you don't want to show up to somewhere, you need to let someone know. If you don't want to call the person, text the person. Just be like, do you know what? I really can't come. That is it. It's not that big a deal. Just send a text message. I'll speak to you later about specifics, but I'm so sorry I'm not going to be able to show up today. That's it. That is all she needed to do. She did not need to ghost. And for someone who is very intentional and all this loving energy and aura and goodness vibe, I would have thought and expected her to do better. So I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing her side of the story at the reunion when that eventually happens, because I don't think that's respectful behavior to do that. Anyways, we move forward to the Demetrius date. So Demetrius, his friend Kieran, and Sabrina went on their little date. So Kieran was basically asking Sabrina the real questions. Like, Kieran didn't let her sit down. He didn't let her take a drink. He was like, da da da, and just started going in. I was like, okay, sir. I like that he understood the assignment, because honestly, if I took my friend out and I wanted my friend to be somewhere and help me choose a man, I will expect that my friend will be asking all the right questions, okay? So Kieran basically started asking Sabrina, good old questions. When was your last relationship? And Sabrina was basically talking about how she was married for 7 years. She doesn't want to jump into a relationship or marriage right now, which is fair enough. I understand. If you were married for 7 years and now dating, you don't want anything that serious. Like, yes, you probably want to get married again, but you're not thinking, I want to get married right now. You're thinking, I do want to get married, but let me explore things. Let me not jump the gun right now, Like, you are trying to explore things and be a lot more cautious. I would think the second time you'd be a lot more careful about your choice, which I think is probably what she's going through at the moment, right? One thing I have to say, Miss Sabrina, she was, even on this day, she was answering all the questions very well. I was like, okay, cool. She performs well under pressure, honey. She really does. So Sabrina was basically asking Kieran, so what sort of woman would fit well, for Demetrius, his friend? And this is where it went left, guys. This is where it went left. Mr. Kieran said that Demetrius would love a submissive woman. Oh my God. I'm like, I don't think 9 out of 10 women don't want to hear that word submissive. For different reasons, right? Like, 9 out of 10 women do not want to hear the word submissive. So it's like a trigger word. It's like, you say submissive, I think, oh my God, bondage, So I understand, right, where she's coming from, right? But in a way, I also think being submissive just gets such a bad rep, which I don't like as well. But at the same time, I understand where she's coming from, because if I put myself in that situation, all right, let's say I met my boyfriend's friend and I asked, what sort of woman does she like? And he told me, does he like? And he told me, he likes a submissive woman. I'll be thinking, wait, does he want a doormat? Does he want someone who, agrees with everything that he does and says? Because it's such an interesting thing to say about someone, right? Let's say he said he would love a kind, bubbly spirit, right, who gets along well with people. I would think, okay, fine. And then maybe he later says, and easy to talk to, and, submissive. I probably will not take it as hard as he likes a submissive woman. I'll be thinking, wait. What are his expectations of me? I think it would cause me, a pause for concern in a way. Now, am I saying that I'm not going to be submissive to my husband? No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I understand where she's coming from, because it gave her a sense of pause. Wait, are we talking back in the day, traditional? He doesn't expect me to work. I'm going to be home doing everything that he says. I can understand why she would go that way. But being submissive does not mean bondage. Being submissive does not mean that you lose your own identity. Anyways, that's a story for another day. But one thing I do like about Sabrina is that in that instance, she did not say, oh, wait, I'm a submissive woman, or I can be. She was like, I am not submissive. I was like, okay, girl. She made that very clear, honey. She really did. And Demetrius was like, well, she, it's not a red flag that she said she's not submissive. I'm like, okay, you want a submissive woman. The woman said she's not submissive and it's not a red flag for you. Okay, all right, cool. are you just saying this because you want to stay in the process? Or are you saying this because you feel like you can be able to make it work with a woman that does not fit into what you want? That gave me cause for concern, because I'm like, okay, Demetrius, is this about staying in the process and feeling like you would get the prize because all the guys seem to like Sabrina, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to end up with Sabrina? Or is it truly because you genuinely feel that this is who you want to continue to spend your time with and move forward along the process and even after the process? I was like, interesting, okay. So then there was Clifton, his friend Kenny, Takia, and Joy all went on a date, right? So at first it was Joy and Clifton and the friend, right, Kenny. And so they were all there just chatting. It seemed like they were just chirping it up and stuff. It was really good. Takia walked in. I loved Takia. I think she's a class act, if I'm being honest with you guys, right? So she walked in, good energy as usual. And I loved how she hugged Clifton very well. And then proceeded to hug Joy, which I thought was really nice. I thought that the energy that she gave Joy was not a competitive energy at all. It was like, girl, we are here. You happen to be dating the same man. Let's try and have the best time that we possibly could have, okay? Now, I thought it was interesting that while she wasn't being overtly dominant or competitive, I found it interesting that she decided to feed Clifton. I'm like, Mr. Kia, you have a little bit of spice. You wanna feed Clifton in front of Joy when you know fully well that Joy is in love with this man. But you still proceeded to feed him some food, honey. Like, I did not see that coming, but that gave me a little bit of spice. I feel like that gave the episode a little bit of spice, because there was no spice in this episode, if I'm being honest, okay? So, I can't lie though. I looked at Joy, I'm like, Joy was not feeling it. Joy was a little upset, if you ask me. Like, I think she hated it a little bit better than she normally would, but I don't think she was feeling it. I cannot even lie to you. I don't think she was feeling it at all. Honestly, I had to be, I don't think she was feeling it at all. Anyway, so Kenny basically was asking the girls what they thought about Clifton, right? So asking Joy. Joy was basically saying that, she likes him. She likes how he's been the same from day one. No filter, same energy. What you see is what you get, all that vibe. And then Takia talked about how she liked the balance that Clifton brought, a balance of seriousness and a balance of fun, and I was like, okay, interesting. So after this conversation, Joy was like, okay, she got to go and left. And, shortly after Takia left, right? So Clifton then was having a conversation with his friend, and the friend was basically saying to him that he feels like Joy was more his fit in terms of personality. Clifton also talked about he's loud as heck, and Joy will match that energy, but he feels like Takia might be like, lower your voice, don't talk too loudly, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't know where that energy is coming from. I do wonder, is it because he knows that Takia is a career woman and she has her ish together and has her life together, that he feels like she's not going to be on that vibe? Because I'm not being funny, but when Clifton throws in his little jokes and, all these things, I feel like Takia takes it quite well. She bounces back on him and has that, kind energy and banter about it. So I don't really understand where he's coming from. Is it because of something we don't see? Is there more to it that we don't see? Because sometimes, we can't see everything. So to us, we might think Takia is this, but to him, Takia could be coming across as something else. But I do wonder if it's just the career woman thing and him just thinking, girl, she's a bit of a career woman. I'm not really sure if she's going to be out here making, laughing at my stupid jokes and being this playful and stuff. But I don't know, Takia comes across as she's like, whatever energy you bring, I got the energy for you too. Okay? Now, she might not be the same, over the top and extroverted vibe as Joy, but she's more like, give me the energy and I got you. Throw that back at you, right? Anyway, so I think the next date was Donovan, Sabrina, Phil, and Tina, right? So Phil was basically like, guys, I don't know if you remember Phil from the last season. That was who was in this episode, right? So apparently Donovan and Phil are best friends. I'm like, who could have guessed, right? Anyway, so Phil was basically like, yeah, I've been through this process before. How many connections do you have? I thought the ladies handled it quite well. They didn't say how many connections they had. They sort of said a couple. And that's sort of how they kept it. They kept it quite vague. Now, Sabrina was answering the question. She seemed very forthcoming. She seemed bubbly, open, as she normally is, right? Tina, not so much. Tina was just like, I ain't got time for this. Well, she didn't say it, but she was like, I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for you. That was the vibe I got, okay? But I was just like, Tina, I don't understand. You were head over heels for Donovan just, recently. And all of a sudden now you don't have the energy when Sabrina is there. Like, what exactly is going on? I feel like sometimes in this process, sometimes I feel like some women just get scared when they see the competition and they're like, oh, how can I beat the competition? But it's not about that. Ultimately, if you're thinking, I'm here to find a connection. If I truly have a connection with this person, let's explore it. If I don't truly have a connection with this person, let's move on, knowing fully well we don't have a connection with each other, and then just call that a day, And I think sometimes they put too much emphasis on figuring out, and you're in the process. Follow the process, enjoy the process, do what you got to do, but be honest with yourself, really. Anyways, let's move forward to Paul and Dakia, right? So Paul decided that he wanted to take Dakia on a date after speaking to his friend. So they went on a date. The date seemed okay. I guess it's an okay first date. I don't know if I see any connection with them yet, but I will see whether something happens in the next episode. But for now, it just seemed... Dakia said Paul looked good on paper, but she wanted to find out whether he had the oomph. I'm like, okay, girl. But it's just interesting. And Paul was basically saying that his friend thought that Dakia would be a genuine fit for Paul. So Paul basically was on the date. Paul was telling Dakia that he tells funny jokes and stuff like that. And Dakia was like, okay, I like funny jokes. And so he shared a corny joke with Dakia, which I'm not even going to repeat because it was corny as hell. And yeah, I do not like corny jokes. Anyway, so Paul also shared with Dakia on the dates that he's an artist. And that actually piqued Dakia's interest. I think maybe the fact that Dakia was like, okay, he's creative. There's a creative side to him. I think that's, I can explore and start getting to know him underneath everything. And I think that was what that was. So we'll find out whether he has the oomph, hopefully in the next episode, when we see their interactions. But anyways, so Tori, after being stood up by Ace, of course, reached out to Ace and they decided to go on a date to talk about it all. So Tori was basically saying to Ace about how, he went on the date and he was shocked that she didn't show up. And then Ace, in her graceful manner, was just like, her showing up is not a slight to him. Her not showing up is not a slight to him. Is that, look at my Ace impression. Let me continue with the impression, guys. It might be crap, but I think it's a pretty good impression. Because it's almost like she whispers all the time. When I see you and how you look at Sabrina, that's how a man should look at a woman. I'm just like, girl, speak up. I love me some Ace too, guys. Seriously, I do. But ultimately, she was saying that, she notices how Tori looks at Sabrina. And ultimately she thinks that they should just be friends. And then she goes on to talk about, like, in the process, they're here to be vulnerable. And she has decided to pull herself out of the Ready to Love journey. She also talks about how, the person that she's really developed a connection with, I'm guessing that's Laverne. And so she decided to leave. I'm like, girl, you want to leave this process because of Laverne? The one that talked about is going to be him and his dog from now on. When he was leaving, he couldn't even say, okay, I'm hoping to continue to build my connection with Ace. He said it is me and my dog from now on. Girl, he don't want you. And even if he did, you should not want him. That behavior of his. I think Ace has been so blinded to Laverne's character. And I'm curious to see whether or not they're going to be dating at the reunion. And whether or not she's going to... I'm very curious about that. I need to be able to see what happens between now and then, because I'm concerned that they might have already been dating before the reunion. And then by the time it's reunion time, she's probably just watching the episodes for the first time and looking at how this man behaves. So I really do hope that she doesn't end up dating this guy and her discernment is all the way on, because that is not a good fit. Laverne has no business dating nobody. He needs to sit at home and go to therapy for a year or 2 years, because he has some deeply rooted issues that he needs to work through, okay? Like this video if you agree. Anyway, so she basically was talking about her good old connection, that's the right word, connection with Laverne, and how she's decided to self-eliminate. Okay, well, Tori was basically talking about, he, as much as he wanted to beg her to stay, or wants to beg her to stay on the journey, he doesn't want to be selfish and all of that, right? In the confessionals, Tori was like, she didn't have to come here looking good as hell. And she did look good, I can't lie. Like, she really came looking like a boss, I have to say. I'm like, all right, Ace, you got a little bit of, fashion sense in you there, deep down somewhere. Anyways, I really don't think Laverne is a good fit. I think that I respect her deciding to leave the process, right? I respect it, because the truth is, that's what a lot of these people should be doing. Like, you don't have a connection with anybody on the show, yet you decide to stay on the show. I don't think that's wise. For example, I think Tori should have self-eliminated, because you're giving this passive-aggressive energy to Sabrina, so naturally your connections are not deepening at all. It is hindering any sort of connection that could have been between you guys, right? So why are you here? Eliminate yourself and go home, baby. What are you doing here? Anyways, that's my little 2 cents about that. Next thing, so there was the gentleman's lounge. So nephew Tommy was basically trying to find out how the dates went with their friends and what did their friends think about their ladies. So nephew Tommy was basically asking Donovan who did Phil like the best, or who did his best friend like the best. And Donovan was telling him that it was Phil and blah, blah. And then he was saying that his best friend, Phil, liked Sabrina a lot. And he felt like they could have a future. Okay, interesting. So nephew Tommy then asked Demetrius. Demetrius then goes on about how his friend said the connection was natural and this and this and that. Well, we didn't see when the friend said that, but maybe the friend said that privately and we didn't know about it. But I felt like he just sort of said that as a, just a dig back to Donovan that I'm still in the running, but whatever. So nephew Tommy asked Clifton about the girls, Joy and Dakia. And Clifton said that, his best friend chose Joy and said that their energies match, but he also needs to think about his connection with Dakia. In a way, I feel like Joy and Clifton probably have agreed to choose each other from day one. And I think that they are just using Dakia to continue to stay in the process for as long as possible. That's what I think that is. Because it just seems a bit odd that, it just seems a bit odd that he seems set on his connection with Joy, but he keeps sort of dragging Dakia into it. Like, I do see that they have, like, their little banter and jokes here and there, but I just worry a little bit for Dakia. Just because I'm like, I don't want someone to be out here using a good old sis, But I guess time will tell. Dakia is a smart woman, so if she's being used, she'll eventually find out. So, back to Paul. So, Nephew Tommy was asking Paul, how did it go, blah, blah, blah. And Paul was basically saying that his friend said, if Paul wants a woman, it should be Dakia. If POJ wants a woman, it should be Carmen. So POJ is meant to be one of those aliases, I guess, that Paul had when he was younger, and whatnot, right? I guess nicknames, I would call it, right? So Nephi Tommy basically said to Paul, like, which of these ladies can handle both? And that's probably what he should be looking for. And I personally think that would probably push Paul maybe further into Carmen. Because I think he's probably thinking Carmen can handle the Paul side of him, but she can handle the POJ. So it's probably going to be a better fit. I don't think Carmen is in or on the show for love. I think Carmen is here for the competition. She seems to love the competition with the women. I think Carmen was hoping that she would come in and be everyone's favorite. I think that was what she was looking for. I don't think that she genuinely likes Paul like that. I don't really think so. I think maybe it will develop into some feelings there, but I think it's more about the fight with the women. It's more about winning one up against any of the women. I just don't like that behavior. I really don't. Yeah, anyways. So, Tori was basically talking about his dates and, well, I won't say dates. I would say the one dates with the friend, and then I guess the second date that he had privately with Ace. But he was basically talking about how Ace didn't show up and Ace ghosted him. Nephew Tommy had the same reaction I did, which is like, it's not acceptable, right? But he eventually told Tommy about how Ace decided to remove herself from the journey because, the relationship has become more of a friendship, and that, Sabrina and him have a connection, blah, blah, blah. And so, if you tell me, was also trying to find out, where things are at with, him and Sabrina. And he was basically saying about how, him and Sabrina have a connection, but he doesn't know where they are at. I'm like, dude, you just seem so salty. Like, it's exhausting, sir. Like, what is this, right? Like, it has not been the same since Sabrina kissed Demetrius. And I understand it. But if you're going to continue to beat her because of that, just eliminate yourself. If you cannot get over it, then eliminate yourself. There is no point in keeping yourself knowing fully well you're still salty about the situation. It's just not right. It doesn't look good. It makes me uncomfortable. It must make her uncomfortable because the tension, we can feel the tension on the screen, which means she can feel the tension even more in real life. Like, it's just too much. Anyways, the guys were struggling to decide who they would eliminate, right? And Tommy was like, okay, no elimination today, to give the guys a lot more time to decide. But then he decided to do a curveball, like he says, right? So he was saying that they're going to take the ladies away for a getaway for 2 nights. And I am here for it. I feel like drama usually happens with the getaway episode, and I need it to happen. I need some drama because I don't know about y'all, but I don't know. I haven't really been loving this season. There is no one on the show that I'm like, yes, I like individuals, but I guess there are no couples where I'm like invested in them and I'm at a point where I love their vibe and their chemistry. Nah, I'm not there at all. I'm not there at all. I don't know what it is. Like, do you guys feel the same way, or is it just me? Like, sometimes, when I just think about the show, I'm just like, this episode is dry. Like, I was hoping for like, just a little bit of this excitement, but nothing. Like, nothing. Like, it's hard to even do these reviews because you want it to be a bit lighthearted, but it's like, there ain't even much to be lighthearted about. It's so, like, dry. Ugh. Anyways, that is that about this episode. So next, during this week, I'm going to record the Love and Marriage Huntsville episode, and I'm going to record the Put a Ring on it. But yeah, you lot give me some time. This weekend has actually been so busy, guys. Like, it's been a bit manic, so I haven't actually had time to put together and sit down and actually watch the episodes. But I'm hoping that I will get some time to watch it tomorrow and put out the episodes for you guys tomorrow. But thank you for listening to this one. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. And yeah, do you think this episode is a snooze fest? Because I was just like, guy, you telling me nothing exciting is happening? Like, nothing? Like, guy, oh goodness. But anyways, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tap that bell for notifications so you know every single time I post. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye.